Hey friends, thanks for joining. Sorry it's been a while since I updated. If you're unable to tell, I am back in North Carolina. It was a good road to get here. Spent a lot of time up in New York. I think I was up in the hospital. Last time you saw me, I was in the hospital. And that was, I think, 4 days after my surgery. And I was in there for a total of 5 days in the hospital with the nurses and receiving care, watching my vitals, medicine, et cetera, et cetera. Then they released me to a hotel affiliated with a hospital. I'm trying to get that covered by insurance, but that's something else. Anyway, this hospital is just like right down the block the hotel's right down the block from the hospital. So I stayed there for another 3 weeks after my release, doing follow-up visits and working remotely. Taking lots of naps. We'll see that later in the PowerPoint. Yeah, so I'm home, unable to drive, unable to lift heavy things. Just no driving because of the pain meds. And I'm working on tapering myself off of those, so hopefully they won't be in my life much longer. The only lasting thing I got going on with me is a compression dressing. It's like a... Hold on, I'll get it for you. It's like this elastic Velcro thing that you make it tight just to help reduce swelling and keep, I think, promotes blood flow to the area to help all the tissues and muscles and skin heal, etc. So yeah, now that I'm back in North Carolina, I'll be doing e-visits with the doctor just to keep them up to date and have them follow my progress here. If I need any scans, I can get them done locally and then send them up. So, but knock on wood, I haven't had the need for any yet. So hopefully we'll keep on going that way. So now, as seems to be tradition, we'll get into more detail. So I have a PowerPoint prepared. Or rather, it's a keynote because it's on a Mac, but you get the drift. So anyway, last time you saw me, I was in the hospital, and I don't know if you couldn't tell, but that was an interior room, so couldn't really see much sunlight. And as a result, I was pretty much trying to walk every day. And this is the atrium that was, I don't know, about halfway through the circuit in the hospital floor. And so I would try and make it to here every day just to, see some natural sunlight, because you'd be amazed what you miss when you're indoors for, a couple days in a row. So I really enjoyed this atrium, but I kept asking the nurses, hey, is there anywhere I can get to closer, closer to natural sunlight, or can I look out a window or something? And some of these people's rooms had windows, but I was not so lucky. So they said, no, there's nowhere to go. But I did find a stairwell to enjoy. And I wasn't technically supposed to be in here, I don't think. But my mom was with me, and she was, making sure I was okay. She could have got a nurse if anything went wrong. I only was able to enjoy this for 1 day because they released me the next day to that medical hospital, medical hotel, or hotel affiliated with the hospital. There was nothing really medical about it, like no staff on standby or anything in there. So this is the pole I had to carry around. You can see it's got my wound vac on me. That's that thing down here, and this was one of the pain pumps meters they had taken off because they took away my pain button by this point. Once again, this is the day before I got released. So this is me released home in the hotel, which was home for the next 3.5 weeks, I guess. So got this recliner to relax in, and hooked up to all sorts of devices you can see here under my shirt and hooked up to my belt. I had this is a portable wound vac, and actually I'll show you what those look like. This is what everything looked like when I got discharged. These are the JP drains, and those are tubes going up under my muscles, I believe. And they were there to collect excess fluids. Actually, I'm not sure if they're above or below my muscle, but a lot of nerve damage going on in here, so I'm not really sure where they were. I couldn't really feel them. But they were draining into these little bulbs, and I guess you would squeeze the bulb, and it would provide suction so that if any fluid came near the end of this tube, that it would suck it down into these bulbs, and we would empty them twice a day and measure them for the hospital staff. And this is the wound vac, so this is providing like a constant little, very light vacuum on this tube, which goes up to this dressing here, and that's like a giant sponge, and it's hermetically sealed to my chest. I think that means air. So it's sealed, and so it's like promoting blood flow to the scar and taking away any moisture that's in there, keeping it nice and dry. Very fascinating technology. This thing, unfortunately, had a 7-day shelf life, and then, you know, it's just supposed to be medical waste. But, you know, if you need it, you need it. What can you do? So what did they put in me? So, in the last video, I told you I had 3 new ribs, and well, they're not exactly ribs, but they're bars to buttress the ribs. And what do those look like? Well, they look like this. Thank you, KLS Martin Group, for these titanium parts, titanium upgrade. These are the, I think they're called the Recon Talon, or Talon Recon Level 1 sternal closure device or something. But basically, these holes are the screw holes that they use to screw into your ribs. And then you either get a straight one or a bent one, and they can bend them and form them to the contours of your chest cavity, wherever the defect may be. And then they bring these 2 pieces together, like there's a top part and a bottom part, and then they, you know, clamp them down and lock them in place to close the sternum. So yeah, what does it look like in my chest? So x-rays only, guys. I'm not going for the full meat pictures, but so here you can see those 3 things screwed into each of the 3 ribs that was affected by the original surgery. And what they did is they opened me up, took the plate out, cleaned the area, inspected it for any other issues, I suppose, and then installed these guys. And this is the front view. Here's the side view. You can see the screws going into the ribs, and them going nice, you know, across. You know, this is like if you're looking at me from the left side, I believe. And so what you can see is no more broken plate in here. It's all nice and flat. So this is supposedly going to be a lot stronger than the previous repair, and I believe it just based upon its metal and not you know, some sort of plastic. So I'm quite grateful for that. So this is me right before surgery. This is a photo my mother took. I think this is like 6:20 in the morning of the surgery. And, you know, I'm just sitting there waiting. I've showered with, you know, antibacterial soap, and I'm here waiting and got my anti-slip booties on, and being waiting to be walked back to the operating theater. And when I looked, you know, my mom sent me this photo, you know, when it happened, but I didn't check it. And I checked it in preparation for making this video. And what I noticed was that I'm smiling under this mask. And I'm probably talking to a nurse or a doctor or something, and I am just smiling and probably thanking them for their help. And that's something that I tried to maintain during this whole experience, was a positive outlook on this, because it's not the easiest thing to go through when, you know, you've gone to 5 different doctors, and the 4 previous ones tell you that there's not much they can do for you, which is good that they were able to, you know, say, this isn't my wheelhouse, or I wouldn't want to do that, or what have you. Long story short, very long story short, the surgeon that's been following me since I was in high school said he would help me if he had to. Didn't really, like, you know, ring bells of confidence for me. So I also had to convince him that there was something wrong, because they didn't want to see me at first when I told them I felt something pop in my chest and I was having pain and swelling. So I was like, I know my body pretty well. Anyway, the second surgeon, who my original surgeon referred me to, said if I can wash myself and work, then there's nothing to be done, and I should just accept where my body's at, which I didn't accept. I appreciate his candor, and that was his line in the sand of what was an acceptable outcome, but it wasn't for me. The third doctor didn't even, I don't think, reviewed the third thoracic surgeon reviewed my case at all. Just told me that there was nothing wrong at all. And keep in mind, you know, this is months and months between each appointment, because in order to get on to the books and have a referral and et cetera, and even then it was months away from the original incident, which happened, you know, my crash happened in April of 2021. I believe the plate failed completely in November of 2021. And so, it's just been getting better over time, but never really going away. And all the while, all these surgeons are telling me nothing's wrong, just leave it alone, let it be, et cetera, et cetera. The last surgeon, who was at Duke, who will be performing my follow-up care, she was my runner-up, and she said, yes, it's reasonable that you need to get this fixed. It's also reasonable to leave it alone. It's your own choice. If it's broken and causing you pain and discomfort, then yes, we should work on it. If you can deal with it, then you should deal with it, and leave it alone. So she was my runner-up, up before I found the New York practice or center at Weill Cornell, and I'm so thankful that I did. Let me stop the PowerPoint for a second. I'm so thankful that I did find that center, because up until this moment, I had been, we'll help you if you had to, nothing's wrong, don't do anything, we'll leave it be. And even though the Duke was my runner-up, their idea was just to remove it and to place she didn't want to put anything back on. Her plan was for me to have a vest external. So if I was going to have a sport or anything, or do any sort of active activity, I'd wear like a vest or something to protect the area. It's a decent proposal, but I wanted to be a little bit more active than that. And I could be walking down the back steps with a bunch of kebabs and fall, and one of them I wouldn't have the vest on to do that. So I felt like I needed a little bit more structure than that. And that's when I started researching the 3D printed prostheses, and it was something that she was not comfortable doing. And so I said, thank you, good, thanks for letting me know. And that's when I discovered this lady. Her name is Penelope, and I read that she had the same sort of sternal reconstruction that I had, and that it got replaced, and then it went bad, and then she got a 3D printed sternum replaced or put in. And so I was really fascinated by this, and I started hunting her story down. And I couldn't find any way to talk to her, and I listened to a podcast she was on, and then I hinted this earlier, and I talked to the podcast producer, and I was like, will you let me talk to Penelope? Because here's my story, here's what I'm dealing with. And the podcast producer was like, sure. And so a couple days later, I talked to Penelope, and Penelope's like, you should talk to my surgeon. And I was like, what? And so that's how I got hooked up with the New York people, the New York Center at Weill Cornell. And something that struck me right away was how quickly they got me on the books to come see me, for me to come see them in New York. They're like, you want to come up right now? You want to come up in a week? You tell me what's good for you. And I was like, what? Really? And then even after seeing them, I saw the main thoracic surgeon, Dr. Port, that day that I had scheduled it for. And then I was up there talking to him, and we were discussing the surgery, and he said, you know what? I want you to talk to plastics today too, because I'm going to want to loop them in on the surgery also. And I was like, okay. And he's like, are you free in 2 hours? And I was like, yes. So I went and got lunch and came back, and then had an appointment with plastics. And then I got done with the plastics, and Dr. Port's demeanor and every other surgeon I had shown this to was wide-eyed and like oh my God, and oh my, can I get a copy of those images? Because I was showing them all my historical imagery, here's the original tumor, here's what they took out, here's what it looks like now, to show them the progression. And they were like, can I get a copy of that? Because it was medically enamored with it, and I understand why. And so Dr. Port was completely nonplussed by it. He's like, yeah, so you had this removed, they put in a replacement, it broke, you're an active guy, you want to keep being active. He's like, we can help you. And I was like, that's it? You're not scared of this? And that he got me into plastics, and plastics had the same sort of they were quite focused and quite professional. They're like, all right, yeah, you're active, you want to be active, here's our plan, here's what we would do, cut the skin, cut the muscle, open the muscle. Dr. Port comes in and removes all that junk, screws in the new stuff. We'll come back, close the muscle, put it in the drains, close the skin, blah, 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 blah. It was so even though I guess it wasn't it felt last minute to me, I had only knew that I was going to talk to plastics 2 hours ago, and they already had devised a plan. So maybe it's not, any sort of trouble for this, but anyway, it was so like a walk in the park, I feel, for that center, that, and even after this, I remember talking to my parents after these appointments and calling them on the phone, and I said to my parents, either 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 this system and this hospital is extremely competent and this office is extremely competent, or they're running some sort of healthcare scam, because they want me to get in. They're like, when you want to schedule your surgery, like, we'll work around your schedule. And I was like, what? Are you serious? I have been gaslit by, healthcare for so long that we'll help you if you have to. If you can work and wash yourself, that's all you need to do. Like, there's nothing wrong, or like, we're going to help you. And like, Duke was my runner-up, so I was almost scared to go to the center. So, but I'm glad I did. So here we are now. After, what's today's date? Today's the 30th. So I guess it's been, what is that? A month and 3 days? Yeah, a month and 3 days since the surgery. And, something that is hard to talk about, which is why this video took me so long, is when you're in a hard spot mentally. It could be that you're being down on yourself, or things aren't going your way, or whatever. It could be just that day, that week, that month, that year, whatever. When you're in a hard spot mentally, I don't think people realize, even in the moment or when they're past that moment, how much energy, determination, and effort it takes to get out of that spot. And being told no for so long by all these experts, and these are specialized people. You're going to specialists to get special care for a special thing that's like really wrong, really strange. I don't know if people know how much energy and determination and strength that takes to pull yourself out of a hard spot. And if you've done that today, yesterday, in the past, or do it in the future, I'm proud of you, because, I'm mostly an upbeat person, but it'll wear you down over time. Just to be told, there's nothing to do. We can't do anything. There's nothing wrong. We'll help you if we have to. It's kind of isolating. It's isolating to have had this sort of tumor and cancer at the age that I had it, and that's rare, quote unquote. And then to have a weird sort of mold thing in your chest, that's rare. That's strange. And now I got titanium ribs, which is rare. And like, maybe you wish you weren't rare in that way. So you just gotta make do with what you got. Make the best of your situation, as I've tried to do. Thanking those nurses and those doctors for their help. That was the last thought I had on the operating table as they're like pumping the anesthesia in, is I was thanking them for being there, for helping me out, because I wanted to get to the other side. I was like, I want to be past this. I want to be better. I want to be stronger for longer. That was what my mantra was, trying to talk to all the doctors. I said, please help me be stronger for longer. Whatever that means. Take this out, leave it in, give me a PT plan. What's your best shot, doc? Like, I'm coming to you for your expertise. And my last thought on the table was, there's never a zero risk surgery, and opening all this stuff is pretty exposing, and so something could go wrong, and you kind of just have to roll the dice and say, this could be it, because there's never a guarantee. You could walk out the door and and be gone. So you kind of just have to accept that and hold that in the balance when you're getting sent to a surgery, and you say, thank you for your help. So anyway, that's what's up with me. Happy, healthy, working on recovery. I'm walking a lot outdoors since I was indoors for so long in New York. I walked a lot around New York. If you're on Strava, you saw my walks on Strava. Some days were longer than others, just because I would get tired. The longer I walked in the next couple days, I was pretty tired, so I have to walk shorter. But that's how you get better, is you keep pushing forward. So anyway, guys, it's getting dark. I'm not sure if the camera can still see me, but thank you guys so much for your support and for checking in on me. And I know everyone's been saying, hey, when's the next update? Are you okay? What's going on? And I'm sorry that it took me so long to get this out, but I've been hard at work, working remotely and working on recovery, which includes naps. And it just took a while to get around to how to formulate all the thoughts about how being in a dark or hard spot can, take a toll and how to get out of it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much